Hi everyone, today we're gonna see the difference between the struct and the class. So here we have an identical implementation of car for both class and struct. And let's try to run the code and see what it does. Yeah, so it says it's so it compiled it perfectly and exited with a code 0, which means everything is okay. So let's try to output some of the contents for object class. So get color. Struct. So before seeing this the output of the contents of the car, let me quickly explain what are the what is this implementation. So basically we have a class car, which has three variables in it, which is year, color, and model. And what else we do have is a constructor and the getters for a year, for a model, and for a color accordingly. And what we have for a struct is exactly the same thing. We just want to check if there will be any differences. So we are outputting its color, and it's red and blue without getting any error and anything. So what is a difference then? Actually, there is no difference between struct and class. We can even check with isClass function for a car and for a struct. Oops. I think we should, yes, it should be something like this. So what it does is it gives us it checks if the car is a class or not. So as we can see, for both car struct and car class, we do have the same value, which is 1. So it is actually, the struct is actually a class. We can do whatever we want with a struct that we can do in the class. So why do we have two identical things? Actually, it is more about the convention rather than an implementation. It's people tend to use a struct for much simpler problems, for much simpler models, such as, let's say, which doesn't have any getter functions, which doesn't have any functions within it, and it's just a simple model which has like a couple of variables in it, or like C-like models. On the other hand, for a class, we tend to implement a very complex models with a getter functions, with a lot of different functions, and that's it. It's more about the convention. There is actually one simple and not that important difference which is a default visibility of the variables, of the contents of the class or the struct. So let me give you a simple, it is not actually very important difference, but let's see what it is. And it is actually about a default visibility of this struct. Let me show you. Let's try to see if you can access a variable within an object without using a getter function. So how we do it? So for a class, and the same goes for a struct. Oops. Yes. And if we try to run it, there we have an error here. It says color is a private member of a car, whereas we don't have any error like that for a struct. That means for a class, the default visibility for members of the class would be private. So here is this, all three things are private by default. It's like the same thing as writing a private here. Whereas for a struct, is this public, it will by default. So that's why we can access the color without any problems. Yes, that's only difference, and the other differences are more about the conventions rather than the implementation. Thank you very much for listening, and hope you guys learned something, and see you next time.